This week on the MX Simulator forums, a cool little project was dropped off and it kind of snuck into the tracks thread instead of on the models and skins part of the forum, which is where we normally see something interesting like this. This is Super Minis in MX Simulator. Now, they're not true Super Minis because they actually ended up on the 125 dynos, so they actually ride like 125s in the game, of course. There's going to be the power level of the 125. But the folks at Zion, or Mini Trabat on the forums, released this Hangtown replica track for us to race on these Super Minis, and we did so yesterday. You guys can check out the full video of myself racing that on the Kellen SYS YouTube channel. But in essence, they made this track and they put a little bit of roll resistance to it to kind of slow the bikes down, so it's a 125 kind of toned back a little bit. And the way that they made these Super Minis work is you can't actually manipulate how the rider model affects on the bike itself. You can make the rider model bigger or smaller, but it doesn't actually look different on the bike. So this is actually still the same height as a 125, but what they did to make it look like we're all riding Super Minis is they actually took this Alpine Stars SM10 helmet and made it bigger than usual to make it look like you're younger and you have a big helmet on. For those of you that have seen motocross racing over the years and you see a little kid get on a dirt bike, their helmet's massive because the helmets are almost all the same size and technology because it needs to fit all that padding and stuff in there. But obviously a smaller person looks a lot smaller in that helmet. So anyway, they did that to make it so that the size difference looks like you're actually kind of about the same size you would be if you're going to race a Super Mini, like at Loretta's, Minios, all these other places that we see Super Minis, Junior World Championships, so on and so forth. But the reality is we're actually on a 125. It's just a big version of a Super Mini, which of course there's big wheel Super Minis, but this is about the same size as a 125. Rider model is the same. The helmet's slightly bigger, but it gets this whole interesting aesthetic and look, as you can see here, that you're actually just a kid. You're just a kid racing a dirt bike, which I think is awesome to have this kind of addition come to MX Simulator because it's a sneaky way to kind of fit something that was never possible into the game. People have made models in this game that replicate this, that replicate smaller bikes or 50s or something like that. But at the end of the day, the wheel span and the base and all that stuff is always going to be the same because it's just one basic kind of model framework that the whole game was based off of. And there are 50s in the game, but that's just an engine dyno. You can't change the actual look of the wheelbase and all that stuff in the game, which is why the 50s in this game, even when you play them, are still big bikes. Some of you guys have seen our Cat and Mouse series that we do here on Start Your Systems, and the 50cc bikes are essentially just 125s with 50cc motors in them, and they're just as big as basically a 450 when it comes to wheelbase and everything like that. So this is an awesome addition to the game in my opinion, because like I said, it's a sneaky way to kind of make you feel like you're a bit of a kid again. I never once played MX Simulator when I was a Super Mini racer or riding minis, but there's a lot of kids these days that do play, race in the game, compete in the game, that are around that age in their early teens, likely have a KX85 or a YZ85 or something like that. And now this is your way to maybe even ride the bike that you have in real life, which I think is awesome to have, because I remember when I first picked up MX Simulator, first thing I wanted to do was try to find a replica of a CRF 450, which is what I had in real life. And then I made a whole pack that was like that, and I had someone actually help me design a bike that replicated that as well. So this was a really, really kind of cool, underrated thing that, like I said, not many people probably would have even known about because it wasn't put on the models and skins part. It was this like snuck into this little track download and said, hey, we also have these Super Minis. And I also did, like I said, that little fun race, and it was a ton of fun to kind of just feel like we're young again and racing these little Super Minis. So you just saw the KX85 that I did, or a lap around the track with it. They have the Honda CR85. It's a very old school version of the Honda CR85, of course, because they don't make it anymore. So it actually kind of more looks like the, CR250 two-stroke from about that generation as well, just because of the height. But obviously then you have the big helmet and everything kind of looks small again. I don't know if you can even tell, like aesthetically, if you're watching this video, you guys here on Start Your Systems have seen me play for years. Does it look like the rider model is smaller? Does it look like the helmet is bigger? Can you actually tell that difference? Because for me, it's like was kind of physically jarring to first see it. And now that I'm used to it and played it a couple times, I'm kind of like, is that different? Does it really make that much of a difference? Anyway, it comes with the KX85, the CR85 that you see here. I'll show an RM85 and a YZ85 as well, but it also comes with a Gas KTM, and I think that's it. Maybe a TM85 too, if I remember right. There's 6 or 7 bikes in the pack that are included, and if you're interested in trying this pack out for yourself, definitely be sure to head down to the description below this video. I will include the link to not only the track that I'm playing here, this 2024 Hangtown replica, but also the Supermini bike, so you too can also download these bikes and try them out for yourself. I think in the pack as well, it also comes with the Alpinestars helmets that are upscaled so that you can have the same aesthetic. It kind of works out for me that we run canvas gear for MX Simulator teams, so we were always running Alpinestars helmets anyway. Unfortunately, if you guys like running Bells or Fox helmets or something like that, Mini Tribat and Zion, they did not put something out just yet that replicates having bigger versions of those helmets, but I can't imagine that that's something that wouldn't be impossible to maybe see in the future if this is something that takes off, because they did that race yesterday and a lot of people really enjoyed it. They had one of the biggest turnouts for like kind of a little fun race that I've seen for a long time in the game, and it was kind of cool to be part of it again, because I always get this sentiment that like MX Simulator is quote unquote dying. MX Bikes is obviously taking over with a lot of that stuff, and good on them, they deserve it, but it's kind of cool to see a bit of a refreshment in that there's a lot of people still playing sim. There's a lot of people that tried to sign up for this race yesterday, so much so they had to turn some people away. Here is the RM85, which again, it's, you know, RM85s are, some kids still race them, but they're not brand new really anymore. So this is modeled off, I can't remember the last time they updated this bike. I feel like it was like late 2000s, 2008, 2009 or so. But I think it looks awesome, and I think it pretty much matches exactly what you'd expect of an RM85 to look like. So if you're a fan of the RM and you want to ride that bike as well, that's pretty cool. The KTM Gas and whatever other bike is there, I think is actually just the 125 models of those bikes, you know, downscaled or basically given the same size, and then they just changed the graphics on it a little bit to kind of mimic the 85 cc's bikes that they have. Which again, so I also know that Super Minis are not 85 cc's. There's like KX100, KX112s. Those are the Super Minis, but just for the shits and giggles of this, basically, they called these Super Minis so that they, you know, make it a whole pack of Super Minis. But the reality is, obviously, some of these bikes are not Super Minis. They're just straight up 85s, like the YZ85 is just the 85, which, of course, they bore out to a bit of a bigger bike when it comes to actually racing the Super Mini class at Loretta's. So, anyway, point being, I think this pack as a whole is awesome because it totally gives that feel to the players that you are smaller, I guess, if that makes sense. As much as like the field of view might look the same, the depth might be the same of where your helmet is and how it all kind of goes together and stuff, I think aesthetically this kind of shows off that it basically does look like you're riding a smaller bike to some degree, or your personal rider is smaller. I actually kind of joked the other day on the stream about it that it's kind of like the Jeremy Martin model, but I didn't mean it in like a bad way. Like it literally just is a shorter rider model look. It's not actually shorter. It's still the exact same rider model I use when I race a 450 in this game, but kind of doesn't look like it, right? Like they did a pretty damn good job of making the 125 with this RM85 and now the YZ85 look bigger. And then the helmet, because it's bigger, just makes everything look smaller. Here's the YZ85, like I said, and honestly, compared to the RM, this thing looks tiny. So this actually looks more like a Super Mini than anything, because the RM was freaking massive. So I'm not sure if that's just like aesthetically how RM versus YZ bikes look. I guess maybe they do. I've only ever actually ridden a YZ80. That was the second bike that I ever had when I was growing up. So never got a chance to ride an 85, so I don't really know how it looks or feels. But obviously the YZ80 was basically the generation before that. I think I raced that or rode that from the age of probably, I want to say 9 till I was 12 or so, did that YZ80. So definitely a bike that I'm familiar with, and kind of cool to run it in the game again. And honestly, for even old school gamers, because I know there's a lot of you guys that play Sim and have a bit of a throwback, a lot of you guys will probably remember in Jeremy McGrath 98, the prize that you could win for the game was a YZ80. So this is a cool way to kind of tie that full circle as well. that you get to rep a YZ85 in MX Simulator. Look, we're in 2024, people. We get to run smaller bikes now. But honestly, this concept, one thing that I really want to do with it, I think, is I have this plan in the off season to do more like local cross races. We'll stream them on Start Your Systems and have some fun with it. And I think now it opens up the door that, yeah, we have a 125 race, but we could also have people download this skin pack and we just legit have a super mini race as well. So we could have 50 races, super mini races, 125 races, C class, all that kind of fun stuff, and mix it all together to create a really fun experience for you guys to play. So let me know what you guys think of that idea. If we do some local cross racing, who's interested in racing these super minis and having a fun little kind of look-alike race for it, as well as what you guys think of this pack as a whole and what Zion and Mini Tribat and all those guys over there have done with this. Because like I said, I love it, and I feel like when it's something that I really like, I love to come to you guys and share it and explain what it is and how it works. So like I said, description below for the download packs to this if you guys want to try this out for yourself, and get in the comment section below if you have any questions or concerns about it. As always, thanks for stopping by and watching another video here on Start Your Systems, and we hope to see you guys in the next one. So long for now.